Hare Krishna. Welcome to all devotees. Welcome to all devotees. Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrutyam Naram Chaiva Narottamam. Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tata Jayam Udirayat. Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naistiki. Hare Krishna. Today we try to understand Shloka number 34, chapter 9, Skanda 1st. Yudhi Turaga Raja Vidhumbra Vishwaka
पुरग रज विधुम्र विश्वक
Kacha Lulita Shramavāri Alankruta Asya
कच लुलित श्रम वारी अलंकृतास्य
Mama Nishita Sharehi Vibhidyaman
मम निशित शरह विविध्यमान
Tvachi Vilasata Kavache Astu Krishna
त्वचि विलसत कवचे अस्तु कृष्णात्मा
Yudhi Turaga Raja Raja Vidhumbra Vishwaka
युधि तुरग रज विधुम्र विश्वक
Kacha Kacha Lulita Shramavāri Alankruta Asya
कच लुलित श्रम वारी अलंकृतस्य
Mama Nishita Sharai Vibhidyamana
मम निशित शरह विविध्यमान
Tvachi Vilasata Kavachastu Krishna Atma
त्वचि विलसत कवचे अस्तु कृष्णात्मा
Yudhi Turaga Raja Vidhumbra Vishwaka Kacha Lulita Shramavāri Alankrutasya Mama Nishita Sharai Vibhidyamana Tvachi Vilasata Kavache Astu Krishna Atma
युधि तुरग रज विधुम्र विश्व का कुचलित श्रम वारी अलंकृतास्ते मम निशित शरय विविद्यमान त्वचि विलसत्व कवचे अस्तु कृष्णात्मा.
Translation and purport by the Srila Prabhupada. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. On the battlefield where Sri Krishna attended Arjuna out of friendship, the flowing hair of Lord Krishna turned ashen due to the dust raised by the hooves of the horses. And because of his labor, beads of sweat wetted his face. All these decorations intensified by the wounds dealt by my sharp arrows were enjoyed by him. Let my mind thus go unto the Sri Krishna. Purport by the Srila Prabhupada, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The Lord is the absolute form of eternity, bliss and knowledge. As such, transcendental loving service to the Lord in one of the five principal relations, namely Shanta, Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, and Madhurya, that is neutrality, servitorship, fraternity, parental affection, and conjugal love, is graciously accepted by the Lord when offered to the Lord in genuine love and affection. Sri Bhishmadev is a great devotee of the Lord in the relation of servitorship. Thus, his throwing of sharp arrows at the transcendental body of the Lord is as good as the worship of another devotee who throws soft roses upon him. It appears that Bhishmadev is repenting the actions he committed against the person of the Lord, but effectually the Lord's body was not at all pain due to his transcendental existence. His body is not matter. Both he himself and his body are complete spiritual identity. Spirit is never fierce, born, dried, moistened, etc. This is vividly explained in the Bhagavad Gita. So also it is stated in the Skanda Purana. It is said there that spirit is always uncontaminated and indestructible. It cannot be distressed, nor can it be dried up. When Lord Vishnu in his incarnation appears before us, he seems to be like one of the conditioned soul, materially engaged just to bewilder the asuras or the non-believers who are always alert to kill the Lord, even from the very beginning of his appearance. Counts wanted to kill Krishna and Ravana wanted to kill Rama because foolishly they were unaware of the fact that the Lord is never killed, for the spirit is never annihilated. Therefore, Bhishmadeva's piercing of the body of Lord Krishna is a sort of bewildering problem for the non-devotee atheist, but those who are devotees are liberated souls, are not bewildered. Vishwadeva appreciated the all-merciful attitude of the Lord because he did not leave Arjuna alone. Although he was disturbed by the sharpened arrows of Vishwadeva, nor was he reluctant to come before Bhishma's deathbed, even though he was ill treated by him on the battlefield. Vishwa's repentance and the Lord's merciful attitude are both unique in this picture. Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, a great acharya and devotee in the humor of conjugal love with the Lord, remarks very silently in this regard. He says that the wounds created on the body of the Lord by the sharpened arrows of Vishwadeva were as pleasing to the Lord as the beating of a enans uh, who Anansi, Financy who bite the Lord's body directed by a strong sense of sex desire. Such biting by the opposite sex is never taken as a sign of enmity. Even if there is a wound on the body, therefore the fighting as an exchange of transcendental pleasure between the Lord and his pure devotee. Sri Vishwadeva was not at all mundane. Besides that, since the Lord's body and the Lord are identical, there was no possibility of wounds in the absolute body. The apparent wounds caused by the sharpened arrows are misleading to the common man, but one who has a little absolute knowledge can understand the transcendental exchange in the chivalrous relation. The Lord was perfectly happy with the wound caused by the sharpened arrows of Vishwadeva. The word Vividyaman is significant because the Lord's skin is not different from the Lord, because our skin is different from our soul. In our case, the word Vividyaman or being bruised and cut would have been quite suitable. Transcendental bliss is of different varieties, and the variety of activities in the mundane world is but a perverted reflection of transcendental bliss, because everything in the mundane world is qualitatively mundane. It is full of inebrities, whereas in the absolute realm, because everything is of the same absolute nature, there are varieties of enjoyment. Without inebriety, the Lord enjoyed the wounds created by his great devotee, Vishwadeva, and because Vishwadeva is a devotee in the Shaurus relation, he fixes up his mind on Krishna in that wounded condition. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunitam Ena Tasmai Sri Gurave Nama Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Ena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vande Am Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavancha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Sri Vishakanvitancha Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात देश तारिणे वांछा कल्पतरुभे च कृपा सिंधुभे एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः. जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद. हरे कृष्णा Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. We try to understand shloka number 34 of chapter 9, Skand first. Prabhuji will tell us in detail. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So a very important chapter. And we are seeing how Bhishma Dev resolved all the queries of Yudhishthira Maharaj. And now he is, as per the benediction received by him, in a position to leave his body as per his own free will. The time is auspicious because Uttarayan has started, and most importantly, he has his worshipable deity, that is Krishna, in front of him. So he is remembering Krishna, and at the same time, he is also advising everything about Krishna. How Krishna is Vijaya Sakhe, that is friend of Arjuna. How he has appeared in his transcendental body. How the body is resembling the bluish color of a tamala tree. How he is able to attract everyone in the three planetary systems. And then he remembers the most important part. When he was fighting with Arjuna and Krishna was the charioteer, he was dressed in yellow. His lotus face was there, which was covered with paintings of sandalwood pulp. And the yellow dress, because of the sun rays, was glittering. And that scenic nature, that scenic picture has been encowed on his heart. And so he says that let that be the object of his attraction, and he should not desire any fruitive results. And then he remembers about Krishna, how he attended the Kurukshetra war because of his friendship with Arjuna and not for any other reason. Though it is he who wanted this war to establish the rule of the religion. But what he did is he actually sided with Arjuna not as a fighter, but as his simple charioteer. And he did it out of his friendship for him. His hair was long and it was flowing. And because there were so many horses which were running around, he was himself carrying he was himself a charioteer, and the horses he was directing, the hoofs of the horses, they were tuck, 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 and the dust was raising, and it all turned the hair ashen. And because he was working very hard, he had to control the horses, control the movement of the horses, control the direction of the horses. He was doing very hard labor. And because of that, he was having sweat. And the beads of sweat were wetting his face, making it all the more attractive. So Vishwadev says that these three decorations, and moreover, when Vishwadev was shooting the arrows, few of the arrows were hitting Krishna because he was the charioteer. And so he was having wounds, but he was enjoying those wounds as being inflicted by his devotee. Such is Krishna. And Vishwadev prays that his mind should be constantly attached to such Krishna. Krishna really is his absolute form of eternity, bliss, and knowledge that we are always seeing. Sat, Chit, and Ananda. And so, whatever rasa we serve Krishna. So, we have been learning this a lot, that there are 5 principal relations: Shanta, Dasya, Sakhya, Vatsalya, and Madhurya. So, it could be neutrality. Shantaras, it could be servitorship. Dasyaras, it could be fraternity. Sakhyaras, it could be Vatsalya, parental affection, or it could be Madhurya, that is conjugal love. So whatever way we like to interact with Krishna, Krishna is going to accept it if it is in genuine love and affection. Now, Bhishma Dev was having a relationship of das, servitorship. So, though he was shooting arrows directed at Arjuna and few of them were hitting Krishna, it was as good as the worship of another devotee who throws soft roses upon him. So when Vishwadev is remembering all these things, it may seem that he is probably repenting. But factually, Krishna was not at all pained because he was not the material body. He has a transcendental existence. His body, everything are spiritual identity. So there was no question, Hare Krishna. Right? So actually, the body is completely spiritual. And spirit can never be pierced, burned, dried, moistened, etc. That is what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, which we have learned in second chapter, 20th verse itself. Na jayate mriyate va kadachit na ayam bhutva bhavita va na bhuya ajo nitya shashvatayam purana na hanyate hanyamane sharire. For the soul, there is neither birth nor death at any time. He has not come into being, does not come into being, and will not come into being. He is unborn, eternal, ever existing, and primeval. He is not slain when the body is slain. This is what soul is, and soul is but part and parcel of Krishna, Anu, and Krishna is Vibhu. So there is no question of Krishna getting hurt. The body undergoes 6 changes, but the soul is free from it. न जायते म्रियते वा विपश्चिन न अयम कुतश्चिन्न बभूव कश्चित अपो नित्य शाश्वतो अयम पुराणो न हन्यते हन्यमाने शरीरे. This comes in Katha Upanishad as well. The only difference being the word vipaschit, which means learned or with knowledge. So the soul is full of knowledge, full with consciousness, and that is a symptom of soul. But then this is something which is Anuatma, and super soul is Vibhuatma. And again, this is something which is confirmed in Katha Upanishad. Anor aniyan mahato mahiyan atmasya janto nihita guhyam tam akrutah pashyati vitashokah dhatu prasadan mahimanam atmanam. Both the super soul Paramatma and the atomic soul Jivatma are situated on the same tree of the body within the same heart of the living being, and only one who has become free from all material desires as well as lamentations can, by the grace of the Supreme, understand the glories of the soul. So this is the real nature of spiritual existence. And Krishna was as it is. So there can never be any harm which he had received. Skanda Puran also mentions the same thing, that Atma is uncontaminated, indestructible, cannot be distressed, cannot be dried up. So we have to understand this. So when Krishna has appeared, it may seem like one of the conditioned souls, materially engaged, but this is to bewilder asuras, the non-believers. Because they want to kill Krishna right from his appearance. Like Kansa wanted to kill Krishna, Ravana wanted to kill Rama. But they are unaware of the fact that the Lord is never killed, for the spirit is never annihilated. So Bhishmadev's piercing of the body of Krishna is similarly a bewildering problem, but for the non-devotee. For devotees, they are not bewildered. We understand it is just illusion. But what is most important is that Bhishmadev is appreciating the all-merciful attitude of Lord. Because in spite of all the situation, he never left Arjuna alone. He was disturbed by the arrows, but he didn't get disturbed. Not only that, he even went in front of Bhishma's deathbed, though he was ill-treated by him at battlefield. So this shlok also makes us understand about Bhishma's repentance and Lord's merciful attitude. A great Acharya, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he remarks that the wounds created were as pleasing to the Lord as the biting of a fiancée who bites the Lord's body. So those wounds are not painful. Similarly, here it was just an exchange of transcendental pleasure between Lord and Bhishma Dev, his pure devotee. It was not at all mundane. Besides, the Lord's body and the Lord are identical. So there was no possibility of wounds in the absolute body. So this is something which we need to understand. But Lord was perfectly happy with the wounds caused by the sharpened arrows of Bhishma Dev. And that is why Vibhidyamanaha. That word is significant because Lord's skin is not different from Lord. But our skin is different from soul. We are not the skin. So in our case, Vividyamana, that is bruised or cut, is very, very suitable. But for Krishna, it is not. He is always in transcendental bliss, which is of different varieties and variety of activities. What we see in the mundane world are just perverted reflection. Because everything in mundane world is qualitatively mundane. Inebrities are there. But in absolute realm, everything is absolute. So many varieties of enjoyment. So here, the Lord enjoyed the wounds created by Bhishmadev. And Bhishmadev was a devotee who was working in the relationship of Dasyaras, a chivalrous relationship. And so here, Bhishmadev actually wants to fix his mind completely on Krishna in that condition where he was seeing Krishna being wounded by his eyes. We all know the fact that Krishna had taken a vow not to fight in the war, that he will not take up any of the weapons. But then he had agreed to be a charioteer. Now, being a charioteer is one of the most difficult jobs that can ever exist. Because the person who is riding the chariot, the king or the prince, or in this case, Arjuna, is busy fighting the opponents. So he cannot talk to the charioteer. So if he has to give the instructions whether to make the chariot run fast or slow, or to move right or to move left, it is done by his legs, by his foot. He hits the charioteer with his foot. And Krishna was enjoying that beating from Arjuna as well, was directing him. And Bhishmadev was observing all of this. He was seeing how Krishna can be lovingly purchased by the devotees. And how Krishna can do anything and everything for his devotees. Vishmadev was also a devotee. So what he did is he wanted to have some relationship with Krishna. And it is but obvious that in the war, there can be some mishits, or there can be arrows which are thrown, which are stopped by Arjuna, but then they fall down on his own chariot. And Krishna was a charioteer, was sitting down without any protection, without any weapons. And so it was but obvious that he would get injuries from different weapons. And moreover, the chariot, it was not a simple chariot which Arjuna was riding. He had got that chariot from the Lord himself. If you all remember the story, uh, it was given to him by, I don't remember the exact name, Agni Dev. So the chariot Kapidvaja, and that chariot had the ability to conquer all directions. So that is something which was very difficult to drive. And Krishna actually had to control that chariot. And moreover, that chariot was marked with Kapidhwaja. Lord Hanumanji was sitting on that. Now look at it. The weight of Hanuman. So it was but obvious that in this whole battlefield, Krishna was the one who was doing the most tiring work. And that is why Bhishma Dev says that I remember you are that moment when you had these drops of sweat coming and flowing like beads. And at the same time, there were certain injuries. Just look at how attractive that situation could have been just when we are trying to just remember it in front of our eyes based on the descriptions in the scriptures. So Bhishma Dev had actually seen it. So though he was fighting with Arjuna, his attention was still on his Ishtadev, which is Krishna. That is what a devotee has to learn, to always have the concentration on Krishna. And hence, in the second part of the shloka, the last part of the shloka, Vishmadev says, I want to concentrate on Krishna in this manner. And not only that, I don't want any of the fruits for what I am. Let my mind thus go on to Sri Krishna. That is what he says. Kavacheyastu Krishna Atma. And that is what we also need to understand. That we have to fix up our mind on Krishna. In whatever form we find him having an association with us. Some may find very blissful situation when they saw maybe Jagannath, Baldev, Subhadra Maya, Sudarshan Bhagwan. Some may like to serve Radha Madhav. Some may like to serve Radha Gopinath. Some may like to serve Radha Kunj Bihari. Some may like to serve Radha Vrindavan Chandra. Some may like to serve Gaur Nitai. But Krishna is the original Supreme Personality of God. We just have to re-establish our relationship with him. Understand that we are his eternal servants. Understand that he is eternal, spiritual. And when we understand it from this shloka, that becomes the real understanding. This shloka makes us understand very nicely the merciful nature of Krishna, how Krishna can do anything for his devotees, how he is very attractive, and how we should always have our mind engaged unto Sri Krishna so that we also get the complete bhakti and purify ourselves, purify our existence. Because only with purification of our heart we can be suitable enough to go back home, back to God, and achieve the ultimate objective of our life, which is Krishna Prem. And for that, in Kali Yuga, you have to associate with Krishna. An association with Krishna in Kali Yuga is in the form of his Sankirtan. Hare Nam, Hare Nam, Hare Nam, Eva Kevalam, Kalau Nasteva, Nasteva Gatiranyata. And still Prabhupada ji and Guru Maharaj, they have been telling us repeatedly, please chant 16 rounds of Hare Krishna Mahamantra minimum with full concentration, full meditation. Have association of devotees, read the scriptures, take only Krishna Prasadam, engage in deity worship, and engage in some seva to devotee, to Guru, and to the Lordships. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.